So I've been working on this message called My Cup Runneth Over. And the purpose of this message is just the fact that, I had a situation where I was dealing with a supervisor and, she came at me pretty strong. And being someone who the Lord uses to feel things and to pick up other people's feelings and just a sense when something is not right with others, I began to pick up strong feelings against the supervisor. And honestly, in the beginning, within my own self, I thought that it was strong negative feelings of me wanting to hurt her or feelings of dislike towards her. And I didn't understand why, because I had no rhyme or reason. Prior to her becoming my supervisor, she was somebody that I have known of. We've known of one another, and we never had any issues. So all of a sudden, I couldn't understand why she had a strong feeling against me, and then I, in turn, had a strong feeling against her. But that was until someone had to point out to me that one of my spiritual gifts is to be a feeler. And because I am a feeler, that means that I am feeling what she's feeling on the inside. And at first I didn't want to receive that because, just being in your flesh, just being a human person, when somebody is coming against you, coming after you, it doesn't hurt you or, it doesn't feel bad for you to want to defend yourself, But I know that that's my flesh. I know that I'm not a person who can fight or retaliate the same way that the world will want to do. So now knowing this, what do I do with it? Because everything that's fleshy inside of me wants to attack against what this woman is projecting towards me. And, I really had to try to understand, well, God, what do I do with these feelings? If you've given me this gift to be a feeler, what is it that I do with these feelings? And I didn't have the answer right away. God didn't tell me how to handle what it was that I was encountering, because now I feel like I'm encountering two things. One, the first thing is I'm encountering this attack of this person against me in a natural, but then I am now also encountering a spiritual dealing that I'm not accustomed to dealing with, because in the natural, if somebody attacks you, you want to attack back. But, I had to learn that I was not warned against flesh and blood. That was something that had came to me. But, okay, God, if I'm not warned against flesh and blood, you still need to tell me how is it that I'm supposed to handle this, because I'm still in a battle. Okay? So you're telling me what I'm not warned against. You're telling me what it is that I am warned, with. But I needed to know what is the weapons of my warfare in this situation, because I feel like I'm just being vulnerable and I'm just allowed to be attacked, and no one is telling me how I'm supposed to be fighting back, and I'm trying to surrender to this thing that makes me want to attack her naturally and just start fighting her and giving her everything that I have. So I needed the Lord to show me, tell me, and this troubled my spirit. It really did, to the point that I was crying. Ready to quit. I had 8 years before retirement. This person been on the job for about 8 weeks, and here it was that it was bothering me so bad that I was willing to allow this individual to have me to lose my job, and I just didn't understand what was going on. And I'm like, God, if you want me to do this your way, then, Lord, I need you to help me. I need you to help me, Lord. And so it wasn't until I would do a work for the Lord, which was actually to perform a wedding. And in this wedding, the bride wanted me to, to go into 1 Corinthians, 13, where Paul talks about love. And one of the things that just kept coming out over and over and over again in my spirit after the wedding was done was when, the Apostle Paul talks about love not taking account of any wrongdoings. And that was the first thing that I realized, that, Nicole, you've been taking account of every wrongdoing that this woman has done towards you. You've been running around telling your friends even sharing it with your coworkers. I mean, everything has been focused on the wrongdoings that she has done towards you. And love takes no account of wrongdoings. And I couldn't understand, what does this have to do with anything? That scripture was for a wedding. We were talking about love between spouses, just trying to give these newlyweds something that they can take with them in their marriage as they come across things. So I'm not really understanding, Lord, why are you having me to talk about love in this particular situation with this coworker? And then it dropped in my spirit even further, because that was going to be the weapon of my warfare. It was going to be love, that I had to love this woman through what she was doing to me. I'm thankful to the Lord that when it came to me, when that instruction came to me, it came to me clear that that's what I was to do. But I'll be honest with you, and I'll say that I didn't like it, because from what I was seeing and me responding to her flesh, this wasn't a lovable person. This wasn't a person that I felt was worthy of my love or had done anything. If anything, she's done every single thing for me not to love her. But then, you know what, God had to remind me, he had to take me on a journey and bring me through my past of when I was not a lovable person, and when he had to love me despite myself and despite my actions. And so, but how did he deal with me? He dealt with me in love, and that is what he was tasking me to do in this particular situation. So I said, okay, Lord, now I know the weapon of my warfare, but, I still need you to deal with me on this, because I don't know what to do, Lord. I need clearer instructions, God. Okay, you done told me the love thing, Now I know I got to keep my mouth off this woman. I got to approach this stuff differently, Lord, but I need you right now, like not now, but right now to still do something to me, because I'm not feeling it. And so I began to go into prayer, and not prayer and fasting, because that's how serious this situation was with me. I had to go into prayer and fasting, and as I went into this prayer and this fasting, I just began to listen to scriptures, listen to stories of the Bible, and one of the stories that really, really took root in my heart was the story between Mordecai and Haman in the book of Esther. And, just to sum it all up, the king had given Haman everything. Haman had rights to everything. He was everything. According to what the king gave him, he was everything except for the king. But he had been given so much. And Mordecai, who was Esther's cousin, who was, just a poor man, he sat outside the palace gates. Even though he was a family member, he wasn't even allowed in. He raised the queen, but he wasn't allowed in or even able to talk to her directly. He used to give her messages through other people, but he used to be outside of the palace gates. And whenever Haman would come through, Mordecai would not bow down to Haman. And no matter what it was that Haman had, that the king gave him, he was not happy or satisfied with any of it. None of it mattered to him, because Mordecai, this man who had much less than him, who was, if you want to even say, beneath him, who didn't even have the authority or the right or the privilege to go where he was allowed to go, none of what Haman had mattered to Haman, because Mordecai didn't bow down to him. And that's the thing. You could give people so much, and I don't know if you've ever come across somebody who you felt was, I don't understand. Why are you so nasty? You're so pretty, or you got a good job, or you in a good position. Why are you so nasty? What's wrong with you? You shouldn't be like that. You have everything. Why are you so nasty towards people? And I realized that that's the situation that I was in. Because here it was, a lot of people don't realize that I didn't like the position I was in. I was inside of this cubicle. I know I had done good work. I've applied for promotional positions, but it just seemed like I couldn't go anywhere. I was working real hard, and even when there was no work for me to do, I found work and I worked harder than my regular job, but just to serve my department because my job was important to me. But, I did within my own self have a desire for an increase, but for whatever reason, my increase wasn't coming. And it made me feel bad that here I am, I've worked hard, I have 2 degrees, but I'm sitting inside of somebody's cubicle. And outside of this office, and I saw, a changing of authority. My old supervisor left. They rejected my application for this position, and they brought somebody from the outside in. And you know what? It's okay because I was still going to serve the same way I've always served despite it all. But yet and still, this woman would come in, and she would walk past me, would not say anything, greet everybody else with a warm welcome and a smile. But it was like she hated my guts, and I couldn't understand because you knew me before this position, and we never had any issues, so I wasn't understanding why all of a sudden we had an issue, and I couldn't understand. And I took it personal at first. But when the Lord started ministering to me and he started letting me just really, really meditate on that book of Esther in the situation between Mordecai and Haman, then I started saying, oh, okay. And the funny thing is I sit in a cubicle right outside of this woman's office, her nice big corner office. I sit right outside of her cubicle. And then I realized that, it's something about me. It's something about me. It's something about me. Because every time she got to walk past me, it does something to her. The same way it did to Haman to walk past Mordecai. It didn't matter that Haman was given all of this stuff by the king. Just like it didn't matter she was given so much authority by the director. It didn't matter that she just got a promotion, one that I couldn't even interview for, but she was blessed to have. It didn't matter that she was given all of that. It did not matter. It was something about walking past me that made none of that matter at all. None of it. And so I began to see, the relationship between me and this supervisor and Mordecai and Haman. I began to see it, and I was like, okay, so then now let me get past that, and let me just see how this story unfolds, because, I've heard it before, and, we would hear messages, and we would read the word, but it's just it's nothing like, when you're going through something, and that thing begins to speak to you, that you just begin to hear it in a way that you've never heard it before. So I began to listen to the rest of the story. And as I began to listen to the rest of the story, I realized that, Haman was just so full of himself. He just began to tell everybody. And, his wife and them, they just convinced him to go ahead and put this pole up, and you're going to impale Mordecai on there. And even worse than that, I'm going to go out and I'm going to attack everybody that's even, related to you. We're going to set out and we're going to kill all of the Jews. And, this troubled Mordecai. Don't think for one second that, just because Mordecai didn't bow down, that, he wasn't bothered by this. He was bothered, and he suffered outside of that palace gate, because now, even though, he was who he was and he was not removed from his position, but he saw that his people were suffering because of this, and it really troubled him. It troubled his spirit, and I understood that, because this is stuff that I was seeing unplay in my own life when I heard out of the mouth of my supervisors how she was going to go after people who had defended me. And I sat there, and I'm telling you, this stuff just began to open up for me spiritually. And Mordecai sent the message to Esther and told her, who knows if you were called for such a time as this, And in this particular case, did I have an Esther? Maybe I did, because the supervisor and we actually both had a mutual friend. And I was a little troubled with her because I couldn't understand that if this is your friend, why don't you say something? But now I understand. I understand because, see, what she's coming against, she wasn't just coming against, just me. Now she's attacking everybody like me. And if I have to look at what it is that I'm doing, she's actually attacking the God in me. Because, see, I've never even done anything in my flesh for this woman not to like me. And even if you don't like me just because you don't like me, the attack that you have on me is something different. But I had to realize, what is this attack about? And this is a spiritual attack. And see, the mutual friend that we have, we from the same family because we're both children of God. So if this attack is on me, now this attack is on you, and you have to do anything. I expect you to say something. I expect you to go to the king. And in this case, the king is the Lord. The king is the Lord, so I need my friend. Don't look at what's going on here, and don't think that this is not an attack on you. I need you to plead with the king. I need you to get in his face. I need you to get in prayer with me. Because you're in a different position than I am, and you're able to reach to an area that I might not be able to go. But I need you to go someplace, and I need you to talk to that king, because we got to get this thing worked out. Because don't think that if this is an attack on me and I'm going to be taken out, that it won't affect you either. And that's what Mordecai was saying to Esther. And as I just went on, I just began to see. I just began to see how these stories just related so much. They related so much. And, even though I can see that, even though I'm looking through it spiritually and things are still moving and God is still working it out, but it made me think of something else. Going back to what I originally spoke about the feelings, what came to my spirit was the fact of this woman spews hate and just negativity. And then it made me realize that in order for something to spill out of you, you have to be filled with it. Because you can't, if there's ever a time that, things are not spilling out of you, that means that it's contained. It's contained. But if you got something going on inside of you that as soon as one thing happens, you see something you don't like, something don't go your way, whatever it is that just adds just a little bit more to your cup or whatever it is that you're carrying, that means that you are filled to the brim. And see, during this time, I was filled too. I was filled with a lot of sorrow. I was filled with a lot of pain for other people because I had been carrying a lot and I had been crying. And even my friends would say, you don't even cry like that. But I was crying all the time. And I'm like, even somebody shouldn't affect me this way. Why am I crying? I've been through some harder things in life, but I'm crying. But see, I was filled to the cup too. To the brim of my cup. I was filled with pain. I was filled with sorrow. I was carrying a lot. And, and I was carrying other people's stuff. And I was carrying it because going along in my spiritual walk, I guess I was picking up on my gifts. But because I was just picking it up and I wasn't, putting it down anywhere, or I wasn't taking anything out, I was just picking things up. My cup was filled too. I was filled with these feelings. I was filled with these emotions. I was filled with these things that the Lord was pouring in for me to do, but I wasn't taking anything out, and so I became filled up myself. But see, because of who God made me, and I thank God for it, He let me pick up on what was spilling out of her too. And what was spilling out of her, it wasn't anything good. It was pain too. It was hurt. It was a lot of different negativity, because every time something would just reach her surface, this is what will pour out. This is what will pour out of her. And, I really had to thank God. I really had to thank God for allowing me to see that, because you know what? I know how I was feeling with what she was allowing to run over. So then I had to say, well, Lord, if I feel that with the little bit that's trickling out of her, I can't even imagine what it must be like to be filled with that. And when he allowed me to see that, oh my God, I couldn't help but to do what the Lord called me to do. I couldn't help but to love her. I couldn't help but to pray for her and just pray to the Lord to just empty her cup, dear Father God. Empty all of that negativity, all of that pain, all of that hate, all of that anger that she has bottled up. But this time when it's poured out, I really pray to God that he would just fill it with love. Because, see, our cup do get filled, and our cup will runneth over. But what is it going to run over with? And see, that's when we need to start paying more attention to what it is that we are allowing our cup to be filled with. What are you allowing your cup to be filled with? Are you allowing your cup to be filled with the pain from the past, the hurt that you've, dealt with from disappointment, maybe from something serious like molestation, maybe it comes from heartbreak, failed relationship, bad relationship with your mother, bad relationship with your children, always being rejected for this or always being rejected for that, being overweight and not being happy with yourself, just anything. What is it? It's something, because we all get filled. Even when you're not looking to fill your cup, we all get filled. We all get full to the brim with something. So looking at this woman is not just about me looking at her, it's me looking at me. What am I filled with? What are you filled with? What is she filled with? And if we're supposed to be praying for one another and we want that thing to just come out of them, and, we want to make sure that we fill those empty places with something, because what we don't want to happen is that, we clean on our insides, and then, when those old familiar spirits come looking and they see that we done cleaned out our house, and they come with 7 more. No, we don't want that. We want it to be filled up. Okay, no vacancies. This is 100% occupied. You can't come in here no more. But we got to be careful what we filling back up with. What are we going to fill our cups with? So as we go into prayer and as we begin to ask God to remove things in our lives, then we need to be praying. We need to be filling it up with the word of God. We need to be filling it up with praising the Lord, with worship, with prayer. That's the things that we need to be filling our cup with. So then when we do get to those points where our cup is full and we're at the brim and now things are running over, that it will be filled with the things of God that could pour out into others. So then when we start pouring out and other people are getting what's falling out of us, that they're not getting what we got when someone is filled with hurt and pain and anger. We don't want that. We don't want that, because we don't want what's coming out of somebody else to fill us up and fill us up to the brim. And that's how negativity just go on and go on and go on and go on and go on. No, we got to stop that. We got to change that. We got to pour those things out, and we got to start filling our cups with the things of God. That's what it is that we need to do. So why is it important to get up in the morning and begin to pray? Why is it important to wake up in the morning and ask the Lord to fill you with the Holy Spirit? Why is it important to go ahead and stop putting down these trashy books and start reading the book of the Word, the Word of the Lord? Why is that important? Why is it important for us to turn off the music sometime and start just putting praise and worship? See, and I really couldn't understand that before. I couldn't understand, because I never thought that I really had a problem with listening to certain music or, listening to rap and reciting lyrics and reading certain books. I didn't think that there was any harm in it. But those things will trigger negativity inside of you. And I'm not saying that it's a bad person. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying that when you're filled to the brim and you put these things inside of you, what is it about it that is going to help you? And so then you got to listen to the words of the lyrics of the songs that you're listening to. Look at how people deal with situations when people talk about it. Are they looking at the world's view? Is everything negative? Is woe is me and what else is going to happen? Or are you looking at God and what he says? That's going to help you get through it. So when God gives you a message that you got to love your enemies, oh, yeah, when he tells you that you got to love your enemies, well, what are you filled up with and how are you going to receive that? Love my enemies. Love my neighbor as myself. Well, what does that look like to me? And all of that is going to look like whatever you're filled up with. Whatever it is that you're filled up with. Because, see, I used to be filled up with isolation, and I know that sounds crazy because, you think of isolation as being somewhat empty, but everything that I took in would support my isolation. I would gravitate to anything that was in support of me being isolated, me being confined from the world, anything that supported or justified me not talking to people because I'm hurt or because I'm satisfied. So whatever it was, that filled my cup. It filled my cup. And so when my cup would get, to the brim and something else would come out, then I'll cut everybody else off. I would cut everybody off to me in the world. I wouldn't talk to you and I wouldn't talk to anybody associated with you. But that was such a contradiction to who God called me to be. And so I realized that in a lot of the battles that I have been having recently, I began to see myself because the things that I've done to people, they were doing to me, and God was just showing me who I was through the actions of other people. And now I began to see what it felt like as He began to nurture this gift of feeling inside of me. I began to see, even when I don't talk to somebody, what does it feel like for somebody not to talk to you? When you block somebody out of your life, what does that feel like when they're blocked out of their life? He started putting me on the receiving end of what it was that I was giving other people. And it made me see things differently. And now it made me know that, oh no, I got to fill my cup with love. I got to fill my cup with better things. This is not who God will have me to be. And I thank God. I don't like feeling sometimes. I don't like picking up on what other people are going through sometimes. I really don't like it at all. But I really have to thank God for it. I really do have to thank God for it because that feeling allowed me to feel what other people felt when my cup was running over with negativity. And so, when people would talk about, you have your friends who love you and they have your back and, you tell them you're going through something and, most people will want to say, oh, you want me to do something to her? I'll catch her. I'll do this. And I will have to say, nope, God got it. And not God got it in a way that I want him to hurt her, but God got it in a way that I know if He could change my heart, He could change hers. And I really pray that one day she begin to feel what it is that she do. And I really pray that when her cup is empty, that it will be filled with the goodness of the Lord so that when her cup gets full again, that her goodness, love, and mercy would runneth over. And I'm just thankful to God for that because, the situation between Haman and Mordecai didn't end well. It didn't end well for Haman. It didn't end well for him at all. And, he allowed other people to fill his cup. He listened to his wife. He listened to other people that set him on a path to destroy Mordecai, not knowing that God had a plan for Mordecai. And so we got to be very careful of how we treat people, even when we think that they are beneath us or whatever. We got to be careful because we don't know the plan that God has for people's lives, and we don't know how we're going to play into that plan. But if you take the path of Haman and you allow your cup to be filled with negativity from those who you're surrounding yourself out, then your fate will be like his. But, thank God for Jesus for giving us another way, because us having faith that Christ died for us, that we might be saved. And when we get to that point and we just begin to learn about him and learn about his walk and his ministry, and we become disciples of him, we learn that there's a different way and we don't have to suffer the same fate that Haman did. So, this was just a message for me that I wanted to share with you, and we need to just consider, what are we filling our cups with? And be careful with what you're filling your cup with for the times when your cup runneth over. So I thank the Lord for this time. I thank him for this message, and I hope that anyone who is listening to